Hi, this is an instructional video on how to create a personal monthly budget using Google Spreadsheet. So first thing you need to do is go to your Google Drive and create a new spreadsheet. So go down to New Google Sheet and go ahead and title it. Okay. Title it your name and then personal monthly budget. Alright, a spreadsheet is a large spreadsheet that has composed of lots of little boxes. Okay, they're called cells. These little boxes are called cells, and each one of these cells you can type in a number, you can type in a letter, you can type in a word, you can type in a whole page, a whole paragraph. Okay, they're all their own little things, and it's important to realize that they all have a location or an address, which is defined by what column and what row they are. So this particular cell is row C3. Okay, this one is E6. This one is A3. Now, spreadsheets are very useful because they can do functions for you. Okay, the most probably familiar is they can do math, in other words. Okay, so you don't have to type things in your calculator. You can just type in a function and it will do some math for you. It will also create charts for you automatically. So spreadsheets are really good with working with data and for purposes with math, very, very, very useful. So go ahead and let's put some headings here. Let's type in the heading name with a colon in the first cell, A1. Okay, let's leave a few spaces here, and D1 type in the heading date. And go ahead and type in the cell next to, right here, B1, type in your name. Your name, not actually your name. And to type in the date, okay, you could just type it in, but let's practice using a function, okay, because this is another thing that a function exists to input the date for you. So if you go up to Insert and scroll down here to Function, you'll notice there's lots of different options here. Okay, we're going to use the date. Okay, and even with the date, there's lots of different ways you could put in the date. And we're just going to choose down here at the bottom, today. See, there's a little description there. It'll enter the current date as a date value. So if we click that, then you realize that, hey, it typed in something automatically for you, equals, which signifies, hey, we're going to do a function. And the name of the function is today. And the parentheses, don't worry about those yet. We can just click enter. And there you go. It's inputted the current time for you, current date. All right, let's skip a row here just to give us a little bit of organization. And the basics of any budget, okay, are income, two things, income, and I'll skip some spaces, and expense. Okay. You can say expenses plural if you want, but so the basics to any budget is what's coming in your pocket, okay, the money you're getting, and what's going out, the expenses, the things that you're spending money on. Okay, it's kind of like the pluses, it's kind of like the minuses. All right, now we're going to break this down into a few little categories here. We're going to type in estimated income, because really a budget is about estimating and predicting what's going to happen in the future. Now, what isn't necessarily always part of a budget, but should always be something that happens, okay, with your budget, is a little bit of accounting. And what I mean by that is you actually come back to your budget after the month has passed. Okay, you estimate for a month ahead, but then you come back and you check to see how accurate your budget was. So we're going to have a heading called estimated income, and then we're going to have a heading called actual income. All right, and I realized that, oh, there's something else I need to put on here. Not only because I might have more than one source of income, so I'm actually going to move these over and have another heading underneath income. And it's pretty easy to move. If you've typed something in a cell and you just want to move it over, you can just select that cell and then go either to the top or the bottom so this little hand comes. You can click and hold and then drag it over. So I'm going to click, hold, and drag. And I forgot to add the subheading source, because we might have a couple different sources of income. Now you'll notice that, hey, not all the stuff I typed in is showing. Okay, that's because right now the default for each cell is if you get too much words or too much characters inside of a cell, it'll just kind of hide behind the next one if there's something typed in this next one. All right, I don't necessarily want that to be the case. I want to be able to see all my words. So one thing I can do is I can change how the cell is formatted to where it'll, once it starts to get too long, it'll kick that word down a line. Okay, not down a cell, but we'll kick it down a line within this cell. And to change the format for all of the cells, okay, you can do it for one cell individually, but I want to do it for all of them. I'm going to select all the cells, and I can do that by clicking this space up here, where it's right on the corner, upper right hand corner, and it'll select all the cells. Then I can go up to Format, go down here to Text Wrapping, and instead of Overflow, which is when it starts to hide behind the next cell, if there's something typed in that cell, I'm going to do Wrap instead. I'm not going to do like, and it doesn't mean it's actually going to start wrapping for me. It means it's going to just kick it down. See, kicked it down to the next line. Within that cell. All right, now I want to do the same thing for expense, except I want to do source, estimated income, source, estimated expense, actual expense. And just to show you, let's go here, source, estimated expense, and look, it automatically, because it was already formatted, I kicked it down, so that's nice. And actual expense. So now we've got a couple of headings here, and spreadsheets can kind of get confusing because this is a lot of cells. You can have a lot of information in each cell. You want to kind of organize your spreadsheet. And one way to do that is to bold certain headings, center others, underline, you can italicize. Okay, just kind of make it so it's a little bit easier to understand what's most important and what's least important to look at. Okay? So we're going to bold the main headings here. Main heading here is name. So I click on the cell and I go over to B, bold it. And in comes the main heading, date, expense. Now these are kind of subheadings of income and expense. So I'm not going to bold them, but instead let's center them. All right, so this dot 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 shows me more tools that I have available to me. And there's an alignment tool, horizontal alignment. I can horizontally align them to the center and set it to the left. So it sets them a little bit apart from the normal. And notice how I selected all of them and I did it all at once. You can also just select one at a time. Because remember, each cell is kind of its own little thing. All right, now we've got the basic structure. All right, now let's put in some income. Now, if you don't have any income, like a job or an allowance, okay, that's okay. You're going to make up at least two sources of income. All right, so let's say I work at Wendy's. Okay, so I get a paycheck from Wendy's. So the source of this income is my Wendy's paycheck. And let's say I also have a paper route. I don't know if I spelled that right or not, but if it's one word or two words, I'm not for sure. But we'll leave it. Paper route. All right, now I'm going to estimate my income. And now remember, this is a monthly budget, so you're going to think about per month. Not necessarily per paycheck, but per month. So let's say I work a certain amount of hours. I get a certain hourly wage. And after I consider that, let's say I'm going to make about $550 per month. And my paper route, let's say I get about $250 per month. Okay. Don't worry about the actual income yet. Okay, that comes kind of after the fact, just to check to see if your budget was accurate. Okay, and let's go with some sources of expense now. Okay, I spent some money, so let's say I have a car, so I have a car payment that I have to pay every month. And because I have a car payment, I have to pay gas money. And because again, I have a car, I probably have to pay some insurance, unless my parent probably pays for it. Okay. And let's have two more. Come up at least with two more of your own expenses. And now I'm going to put down, let's say, fast food, and let's say clothing. Okay. And I'm going to estimate those expenses. Actually, car payments are usually like, you can actually get an exact estimate because you know how much it's going to cost. So we'll say this costs $220 a month. Gas money, I don't know, I've spent about 100 and let's say 200 a month. My insurance, I'm a teenager, so it's pretty expensive, $250 a month. Fast food, say I go out like twice, maybe a month. And clothing, I really don't buy that many clothes, but I know this month I want to buy a hat, so $10. Okay. Alright, so we've got our estimated how much we're going to take in and estimated how much we're going to spend out. Now the point of a budget, okay, is to predict how much you come in and how much comes out so that they'll balance, okay? Because we don't want to have lots of income coming in that we're not doing anything with, and we don't want to have lots of income going out, okay, more than what we're taking in, because then we have to have overdraft fees in our bank account. We also, our credit can go down, our credit score, which means it's hard to get a loan, like a car loan. Okay, so we want to keep these two things balanced. In other words, we want them to be equal to each other, the amounts. Okay? And I did forget one very, very important thing. You should always have in your budget a certain amount that goes to savings, even if it's like a little bit. Okay? All right, I'm going to skip a couple lines here. Now I told you the balance, these two should balance, the total should balance. So we better have a heading here, total income. And we better have a heading here of total expense so that we can compare them. Now the nice thing about a spreadsheet is that it does math for you. Remember I told you that. And it does it through the use of what we call functions. So I want to have the total income displayed right here. So I select that cell, and then I'm going to go up here to Insert, Function. And this time instead of date, I'm going to find the one that says math. It's all of our math functions here. Okay? Now if you see, we got lots and lots of math. But what we really just want to find is a total, or in other words, if you remember, a sum. Okay, because that means add them all up. So if we go down here to find the word sum, S-U-M, there it is. We click it. Notice it automatically types in equals, which means, hey, we're going to do a function. The name of this function is sum. Now we're going to use the parentheses. Okay, what the parentheses tell us is, hey, you have to tell the computer what cells you want them to add, what cells you want them to sum. So it's pretty easy. The easiest way I figure, you can actually type in the addresses of the cells here if you wanted to. But it's easier just to click and select the cells that you want it to add. So I'm going to scroll up here. I want it to add these two. And in fact, I'll scroll down a few extra blank ones, okay, just in case in the future, I have some more sources of income. Now I can't actually select the cell that I'm inputting the total in. That will mess it up, okay? But just right up to the cell that I'm going to show all the sum of everything. Let go. Now you notice it says, I want you to sum, I want you to add all the cells, the numbers in B5 through B12. Okay, and I'm going to push enter, and it sums the two for me. Okay. Same thing with the expense. I'm going to insert, function, math, sum, and then I'm going to select all the cells that I want it to click and drag all the way down to right before total expense, E5 through E12, push enter, and it gives me my total here. Okay. Now notice when I click on these, the cell is displaying the total. But if I want to look at the function that's causing that to happen, I go up here. This shows me the function. So if I wanted to edit this, like I wanted to go, only to an E11, then I could do it up here. All right, last little bit of math is let's compare these two. And remember I said if they equal each other, then we're good. Well, these don't quite equal each other, so I want to do a little math to say, hey, what about if I take income minus expense? Okay. What does that give me? Well, if I take the income minus the expense, it'll give me a number, okay? And if it's a positive number, that means I have more income than I do expense. I'm getting more money than I'm spending, which is generally a good thing. Now, if I have a negative number, that means I'm spending too much. I'm spending more than I have. All right? And if I have the number 0, that means they're going to be equal. Okay, so this is a useful function to help us figure out if these things are balanced. Right, so the heading is going to be income minus expense. And we can insert a function here that will subtract these two. But because it's only two cells and it's super easy, because it's only two cells, it'll be super easy just to type the function in our cell. So to tell the spreadsheet that we're going to do a function, I'm going to push equals. Okay, it says, hey, we're doing a function. And I'm not typing a name of a function in here, a pre-programmed name, because I'm just going to do math myself. So all I have to do is select this address, B13, and then I want it to subtract, so I'm going to put a minus sign. This address, B13. So subtract E13 from B13, and it's a function because I put an equal sign in front. And then if I push enter, it'll do that math for me. So this means I have a positive amount of money left over, or I estimate that I'll have a positive amount of money left over. Well, heck, if I have $85 extra, I might as well put that to savings, right? So I'm going to add 85 to 5, which is 90. Guess what happens? Boom. See how all these things updated automatically? That's the real power of spreadsheets. Okay, you can change your data source, and you don't have to update or change all these formulas. It just does it automatically for you. So my budget is balanced. I'm estimating all the money that I get for the month, and I'm putting it, estimating where it's all going to go. Now again, at the end of the month, you'd want to actually check. You want to keep your receipts and then put these down and check to make sure that your estimate was pretty accurate. And if you do that for a few months and you find out that your estimate, let's say like you end up spending less in gas money every month consistently, then you can change your budget a little bit, right? You can put it down, hey, I actually only spend about $150 a month on gas. And then you maybe add a little more for clothing or savings or a new thing. Okay. So this will help you keep your money organized, and that is the end of the video.